Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Nahmadu wa nasalli ala Rasuli Kareem. It's been about 2 months. It's been a long 2 months. Alhamdulillah. Many things have happened. Alhamdulillah. Ramadan, obviously. And we started, or we sort of, we completed the actions of Salat and did a summary, according to Shah Waliullah's summary of the differences between, or the breakdown, all the actions of Salat from beginning till end, and how the Shafi'is, the two big schools, right? The Hanafi and the Shafi school, and by extension the other schools as well, Madahib, how they view the actions of Salat. Like certain things, one school views as Sunnah, the other views as Wajib, and vice versa. Now we continue on to the chapter of forgetfulness. So where a Salat is not prayed properly, or something is forgotten, or something is missed, then the narrations related to that. The first chapter related to that is that the one who does 2 rakats in a more than 2 rakat salat does salam before the salat ends. Like it's maybe a 4 rakat salat, and instead of doing salam at 4 rakats, does do salam at 2 rakats. So Imam Malik who narrated from Ayub bin Abi Tamim as-Sakhtiyani, who narrated from Muhammad ibn Sirin. Ibn Sirin rahmatullah alayhi is one of the Tabi'een. He's famous for the Ta'bir Ru'ya dream book, which everyone reads, I guess. But he's a great muhaddis and faqih and so forth, and his chain narrations are considered some of the strongest. He narrated from Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he prayed 2 rakat, and he turned around, and the Sahabi Dhul Yadain, and he said, Ya Rasulullah, O Messenger of Allah, did you shorten the prayer or did you forget? Right? An interesting name. His name is Dhul Yadain. Most of you are Dhul Yadain. It means the one of, in Urdu say do hat wala, the one of 2 hands. So, does anybody know why his name was but it's an interesting name. I mean, it's true. You know. So, the one of 2 hands. And he said to the people, and then he asked Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Dhul Yadain, did he say correctly? Was he right that I prayed? And they said yes. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam then stood up and did 2 more rakats and did salam and did sajda, and this sajda was the same or as long as the first sajda, like the one that was inside the salat. Like this is Sajda Sahw, right? The Sajda Sahw, which is the forgetfulness prostrations that are done at the end of salat. So, and then he and he did another sajda, so he did 2 sajdas, like, you know, before you do tahiyyat, you do 2 sajdas. So similarly, he did that, either the same length or longer, meaning that it wasn't like he didn't short, like it was some sort of like lesser of a sajda. It's a full sajda. He did 2 full sajdas as we understand it. Imam Malik narrated from Ibn Shihab az-Zuhri, and he narrated from Abu Bakr ibn Sulaiman bin Abi Hathma, and that is reaching the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, did 2 rakats, and this narration is very similar, and the same question is asked: is he telling the truth? This is what happened? And everyone said yes, to confirm, and the Rasulullah completed salat. Imam Malik has narrated from Ibn Shihab, and who narrated from Sa'id ibn Musayyib, who narrated from Abu Salama bin Abdul Rahman, the like similar. So there's like 3 narrations. Basically, the meaning of the narrations, mithla dhalik, is exactly the same. Shah Waliullah says that the madhab of Imam Hanifa and Shafi'i says that whoever makes salam from 2 rakats forgetfully, then he should do 2 sajdas, and he should complete the salat and do 2 sajdas. And this is the if the person وهو مذهب أبو حنيفة خاص بمن this is if the person is sure that he's prayed 4. If he thought that he was praying Jum'ah or that he's musafir, then his salat would break, and he has to start again. As is mentioned, Fatawa al-Mkiriya, Fatawa Hindiya, it's an encyclopedia of rulings from the subcontinent. Al-Mkiri, I mentioned this before as well, he was an emperor, a Mughal emperor, but he oversaw the compilation of this Fatawa collection. He was an alim himself. And there's a team of like 26 ulama, and they worked over 10 years, and it was basically the legal code of Hind. That's how the Hind was ruled according to this. A sitting emperor oversaw fatwa work And he would give, like sometimes he would catch their mistakes. The muftis were special as the academics. So he was a very unusual, I mentioned this before as well, a Fatawa Hindiya, it's known, or Fatawa Alamkiriya in Arabic. So it's like a masterpiece of fiqh, and it's like it references 120 other works in the Hanafi fiqh before it. So, and as for the place of Sajda Sahw, there's difference of opinion. Imam Shafi'i in his Jadid, in the new school, that's when he went to Egypt. Egyptians will be happy about this. They went to Egypt, he revised his whole school, and he said that the place is between tashahhud and salam, always. Between tashahhud and salam. Imam Hanifa says its place is after salam, always. Right? Imam Malik said if the person Sajda Sahw is done because of deficiency, missing something out, naqs, then he does it before salam. But if he increases ziyada, if he does something extra, then he does it afterwards. Imam Ahmad said every hadith in this Sajda Sahw can be utilized in its place. And this is Imam Ahmad's school. Is that he has every hadith, he will never leave a hadith. He will incorporate every hadith all of them can be practiced. If he leaves the tashahhud awwal before salam, or if he leaves, he prays dhuhr 5 rakats, or if he leaves tashahhud al-awwal, then it's before salam. If he prays dhuhr 4 rakats, or makes salam at 2 rakats, then Sajda Sahw is after salam. So, and the next chapter is whoever stands after 2 rakats and does not sit down forgetfully, then he prays 2 sajdas after salam. Ibn Shihab narrated from Malik, narrated from Ibn Shihab, who narrated from Al-A'raj, who narrated from Abdullah bin Buhayna, that he said that Rasulullah sallallahu led us in salat. He prayed 2 rakat, then he stood up. He did not sit down. So meaning that the first tahiyyat was missed. He stood up, and then people stood up. When he finished the salat, he looked at he looked at us, and that we saw that he did salam, then he did takbir, did 2 sajdas, and then he sat down before the salam, and then he made salam. Imam Malik narrated that in Yahya bin Sa'id from Abdurrahman ibn Hurmuz from Abdullah bin Buhayna that he said Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam he led us in dhuhr. He stood up at the second rakat. He stood up, meaning he did not stay for tahiyyat, and he did not sit in it. And when he finished the salat, he did 2 sajdas. Then he made salam after that. And qultu, Shah Waliullah Rahimahullah says that wa alayhi ahlul ilm, upon this are the people of knowledge. Imam Shafi, based on this, made qiyas, analogy that to leave qunut, and Imam Hanifa did qiyas on this, that analogy. Qiyas is that you use one thing and then you base something else off that, in simple terms. Like for example, like a certain drug is haram. Why? Because the common cause in it, which is intoxication, exists in that drug, even though that drug specifically didn't exist in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There's so many drugs now, the synthetic ones that are made, they didn't exist. But the underlying thing, which is in alcohol, which is intoxication, exists in this drug. Therefore, qiyas, it's analogy, right? It's a valid analogy. And he said, and Imam Hanifa rahmatullah alayhi, he did analogy on this, that if a person was to leave wajib, like the Fatiha or qunut or the takbirat of Eid, then based on this, that Sajda Sahw is to be done. Whoever stands up, the next chapter or section, whoever stands after 4 rakats and prays a 5th and makes 2 sajdas after taslim, they should make 2 sajdas after taslim. And there's a hadith of Shaykhain narrated from Ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. The Yahya narrated that Malik said that whoever forgets in his salat and stands after 4 rakats and recites, then makes ruku', and when he lifts his head up from ruku', he realized that he actually did pray 4. He's praying a 5th rakat now, right? So then he should return. Imam Malik said he should return in the yarj. He should sit without making sajda. He should not complete the rakat. because there's no 5 rakat salat. So he should go, now he should sit. Now what is he doing? He should have sat there in the 4th rakat, but he didn't do that. He's going back to what he was doing. And if he made one sajda, he should not do the second sajda. Like, do you understand? Like, he's done the 5th rakat and he's done a sajda now. And sajda is 2 parts, right? Two sajdas. So he's done one sajda in the 5th rakat, right? He should not complete the second sajda, right? And then he should do, because he should not, basically should go back to where he left off. The salat is 4 rakats. Why is he doing an extra sajda? Now he's doing an extra action which is not required of him. He's adding an action to salat intentionally, right? So where he left off, that's where he should continue, which is what? Which is at tahiyyat, because he's done 2 sajdas already before in the 4th rakat. And then when he finishes salat, then he should do 2 sajdas, and he should sit after the taslim. Meaning, sitting after taslim means that he should do tahiyyat. If you notice the Hanafi tahiyyat, the Sajda Sahw is what? Salam, 2 sajdas, then sit, do tahiyyat till the end, and then do salam. And the Fiqh Shafi'i generally is that before salam, do 2 sajdas. Do sajdas and then do salam, right? And these are valid views. Hanafis explains one view, the Hanafi one, that if a person was to stand up for the 5th salat, if he does the sajda in that 5th rakat, his salat batala salat, the salat is gone, because he's added the complete whole rakat. But if he did it before that, the salat is he can just make Sajda Sahw and finish it, wrap it up. But if he's done a whole sajda, now he's prayed a whole additional rakat, then what he would have to do is either his salat is gone, or he would have to do an extra rakat and all his salat becomes nafal. There's a whole discussion around this which I won't go through now. The thing is that there's elaborations on this specific to the madhahib. We don't have the time to go through all of it now. Whoever doubts his salat, that is whether he's prayed 3 rakats or 4 rakats, this is a very common thing, then he should pray an additional rak'ah, and then he should make 2 sajdas before salam. So this is the title. Imam Malik narrated from Ibn Shihab, who narrated from Ibn Shihab Zuhri Rahimahullah was Imam Malik's most influential teacher. Although the chain of narration that is considered the greatest in Hadith sallallaho is Imam Malik, who narrated from Imam Malik narrated from Nafi' ibn Umar radiyallahu anhum. That Ibn Shihab, he narrated from Abu Salama ibn Abdurrahman ibn Auf, who narrated from Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu, that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I mean, if you see these names, you look very carefully. Abu Salama bin Abdurrahman bin Auf. We know Abdurrahman bin Auf, one of the Ashram, so he's the son, one of the Rawis. And you find that a lot of the Rawis of Imam Malik, they are the children, grandchildren of Sahaba radiyallahu anhu. They were Imams, ulama. Think about it. If Sahaba radiyallahu anhu, who they are, and their children are growing up in Madinah Munawwarra, and they are people of taqwa, they're tabi'een, right? And tabi'een, khairul qurun. So you find all these names. Okay, Abu Salama is a son of Abdurrahman ibn Auf radiyallahu anhu, and so forth. Who narrated from Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu, meaning they were narrating from senior Sahaba radiyallahu anhu. That Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that if any of you was to stand and pray, when any of you stands and prays, shaitan comes to confuse him, until he doesn't know how much he's prayed. Inna ahadakum idha qama yusalli jahu shaitan falabbasa alayhi, that he mixes him up. And until he doesn't know how much he's prayed, if you find that, then you should do 2 sajdas while he's sitting. Do 2 sajdas while he's sitting. You should do 2 sajdas, meaning that do Sajda Sahw at the end. That he should. Now there's an interesting masala I'll explain in a moment. Imam Malik narrated from Zayd ibn Aslam, who narrated from Ata ibn Yasar, that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if one of you doubts in his salat and he doesn't know he's prayed 3 or 4, then he should pray 1 rak'ah, and he should make 2 sajdas, and he's sitting before salam. If this rak'ah is extra, فإن كان الركعة التي صلى خامسة شفع بهاتين سجدتين. So you sort of like make up for it if you're doing like because the rak'ats in the even numbers, but the sajdas are the 2 sajdas, they will compensate for that number by doing the sajdatain. The sajdatain will make it even, basically even it out, meaning by doing that. If it is a 4 rak'ah and you done sajda, because you weren't sure, right? You weren't sure, and if it was 4 rak'ats, then this is for sajdatan targhimun li shaitan. This is like humiliation, debasement for shaitan. Malik narrated from Umar bin Muhammad bin Zayd, who narrated from Salim bin Abdullah, that Abdullah bin Umar radiallahu anhum, he used to say, if any of you doubts in salat, then he should estimate what he thinks that he's forgotten from salat, and he should pray it, then he should do 2 Sajda Sahw, and he's sitting. Is there a difference between the two? Right. So there's actually Imam Shafi, if you look at the wording, one of them says estimate, faliyata wakha, that he should estimate, he should guesstimate or estimate like what he thinks is dominant in his mind, what he thinks. The other one said, no, you assume that you have the less. You assume. It's similar but different. So the Imams have sort of taken a different view on these one. One saying, no, you should just go by what you know for sure, which is that you've done 3. You know you've done 3. You don't know whether you've done, this is going to be the 4th or 5th. You're doubting the 4th rak'ah. So you assume that you've done 3, then go by that and do an extra rak'ah thing. The other one saying, no, what do you think in your mind is dominant? That which one is this? So you should like estimate. You've done 3 or 4, and based on that, you should go by that. And do Sajda Sahw. But in both cases, you do Sajda Sahw. But one is about going by the minimum, the other one is going about what is dominant on your mind. Imam Malik narrated from Nafi that Abdullah bin Umar, when he's asked about forgetfulness in salat, he said, you should ليتوخى أحدكم, you should estimate what he thinks that he's forgotten from the salat. Malik narrated that a man is reaching that a man asked Qasim bin Muhammad that indeed I have in my salat too much waham, too many thoughts, waswasa, too much forgetfulness is there, and it's too much for yukthiru dhalika alayhi, like it's become too hard to remember, like it's constant, it's very, people can suffer from this in excessive amounts. Qasim said that you should basically complete your salat, and this thing will not leave you until you do this. Like you basically have to, and one of my teachers, Dr. Mutlaq from Kuwait, has mentioned this, you should give yourself, there's a point that it reaches this waswasa, this waham. You should not act on waham, like doubts. It can reach in excessive proportion to the point of where a person's like life becomes miserable. It can happen in tahara, it can happen in salat. That then you when you reach this stage, then you just, because this will never end. Your doubt in your salat will never end. A person has reached this state, then shaitan is now playing with you. So if he reaches this level, then a person should give themselves a benefit of the doubt, and after giving themselves the benefit of the doubt, then they should assume that they've done 4 rakats. Else this thing is not going to break out of it, like it's not going to stop. So this is for a case where it's excessive, it's like too much. Else you're going to be like, it's shaitan is running circles around you in your thoughts. And one sheikh mentioned it interestingly, says waswasa of shaitan is like a ferocious dog chasing you. If you look back how far the dog is, if you try to pay attention to it, it'll maul you. So you should focus on your destination and use the barks to make you get there quicker, right? Not pay attention to it. Like don't turn around. If you do that, then shaitan is the king of waswasa, khannas, and he'll be constantly doing this to a person. Some of us, we can suffer from, like, we think we're dealing with our own thoughts only, but shaitan is actually playing, running circles around us. As an incident, I remember when a book I was reading, the sheikh was in, 2 sheikhs were there in tawaf, and one of the sheikhs said, he saw all the hajis from Indonesia with the white thing, and said, look, they look like, malaika. And the other sheikh gave him a slap. Shaitan's even tricked you here. Like you're looking at women in the haram, in the Kaaba, in the mataf, in the tawaf. He said, look, made you look like angels, malaika. When you look at other people's daughters and mothers and wives and whatnot, and he goes and he says, look how beautiful these angels look, like this. So shaitan is constantly, Allah protect us all, constantly at us, and he's got, somewhere I was reading, you probably heard this before, 70,000 tricks for the mu'min. So people who like, we're not outside of his traps and tricks, and it's a constant, and we have to fight it. And that's, Allah's given us an opponent, right? He's given us an opponent to fight. But he comes, he tries to spoil our salat. He starts to stop us from salat, and if we cannot salat, then makes us miserable in salat through his waswasa, try to spoil our intentions, and it's just constant. someone is written that one of the sheikhs said 30 years I tried to get khushu' and tried to ikhlas in my salat, and shaitan just comes and steals it before I finish. So they were constantly on the guard. One of the Sahaba, I think Abu Musa al-Ash'ari, if I remember correctly, he in salat, he did salam, he led the salat, and he says salam, he goes, today shaitan made a dangerous attack on me. He made me think, and he's one of the ulama, imams of Sahaba radiallahu anhu, he's not like anybody. And he said that, and they took their deen directly from Rasulullah, and he's leading other Sahaba. I mean, think of the privilege. And he said, shaitan made a dangerous attack on me today. He made me think that I was better than you because I'm leading salat. I will never lead salat after this day again. Like how many thoughts do we have? Ana khairu min, like it's like I'm better than him, We're doing this constantly, shaitan is but he just one thought that was to them it was unacceptable. And he said, I'll never lead salat after this day again. So it's
What's the solution for that?
I just mentioned it before.
Like
Focus on your destination. Focus on Allah in your destination.
seek
And A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim.
That's it.
That's it, yeah. You have to fight it. It doesn't stop. There's no solution like he's a thing. It's a every time we read the Quran, one of our teachers, when we were doing tajweed, there's a small booklet we did in first year, Madrasa Fannu Tajweed. It's a very nice book. I think it's Syrian Sheikh who wrote it, if I remember correctly. But he said why, because the first chapter is about ta'awuz and basmala, a'udhu billah. He said, why are we reading a'udhu billah before we start reading Quran? It's a book of Allah. Whenever you read the Quran, you should seek refuge with Allah from shaitan, rajim, the accursed. And he said, because many people have been misguided, they went astray. Shaitan led them in the Quran. So we always seek refuge with Allah. So if that's every time we read the Quran, we're supposed to say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. In every salat at the beginning, before the Fatiha, before Bismillah, before in the first rak'ah, ta'awuz is read. That A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir in salat. We're in salat, we're in the masjid, we're with good people, inshallah, and everything. But shaitan is shaitan, and we have to seek refuge with Allah, protection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from shaitan, even there as well. And that's something Rasulullah always taught, like it's a constant battle, like it's not just once off. And we have this thing, the Sufis use that word, wasa, poncho wa wali. He's reached, he's made it. He's reached it, he's made it. No. Like when your ruh separates from your body, that's when you reach. Like you'll know whether they succeed or not. The idea that that it's all good. No. He's got the shaitan from a mufti is a mufti. And the shaitan for a Hafiz also. He's been with him when he was in madrasa studying Hifz al-Quran. He knows what makes him tick, and he will put things in his way. So it's like Allah's created an enemy, like it's an interesting aduwwu mubin, an open enemy that you cannot. His adawa is open. There's no doubt about his adawa because it's mentioned in the Quran. His enmity is open. So he doesn't have any rules. There's you have if you go to in boxing, there are rules. You don't go below the belt. Shaitan doesn't have rules like that. That he will not go below the belt. He goes for anything and everything to make your life a misery. And in salat and in tahara, people suffer from this. This is a misery. Like he makes him miserable in ibadah, in a good thing. Salat is a beautiful thing, connect to Allah, but shaitan won't leave him alone. I heard this story. I'm not sure how true it is, but it said someone lost some money, some wallet or something, and asked Imam Hanifa rahimahullah for where. I'm not sure the authenticity of it, but somebody asked, I guess this is not a fiqh question, but he said that what you do is at night time you start praying, like I'm going to pray the whole night. First rakat, he remembered where the money was. Of course, shaitan next day telling Shaykh, just beautiful, jazakallah khair for this prescription, And I found in the first rakat, I remember where it was. Yeah, of course, shaitan is not going to let you pray the whole night, So even he does a cost benefit analysis, and then he realized, okay, this wallet is better tell him where it is, else he's going to pray. He'll start praying for all the ummah and his family and children and grandchildren, maghfirah for the whole ummah. We better, we'll take this hit, just tell him where. Astaghfirullah azim. So anyway, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us and our progeny, and Allah make us from mukhlisin, because the people that will be, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala vouches for one group of people that are protected from him, the sincere ones, the mukhlisin, those who are sincere to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us of those. Ameen Rabbil Alameen. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين الحمد لله رب العالمين جزاكم الله.